Jazz Box Sets, Volume 2. This is one box set that definitely would put me in the mood. One of my favorite sax players of all time, Charlie Parker. This is the complete Verve Master Takes. Next year, in 2020, Charlie Parker's turning 20. It's 20. No, he's not turning 20. It's his 100th anniversary. If he was alive, he'd be 100, but he's dead, so he's not going to be 100. Way past 20. This is a follow-up to box sets, CD box sets, Volume 1. And what we have in the background here, as I just said, is Charlie Parker. We'll let that play softly. Okay. As I said in the previous video, if you're watching this out of order, I'll just do a little refresher. From around 86 to the early 2000s, I was all in on compact discs. I had my record collection stored for about 15 years, brought it back out around 2002 or 3 or so, and it's been pretty much vinyl ever since. Although, what's great about the compact disc era is the creation and just explosion of box sets, putting together full catalogs of artists, outtakes, alternate takes, just amazing array of introduction of some great music in all genres. But this, I'm concentrating on jazz. Let me tip you up a little bit, babe, so I don't have to bend over. Okay, anyway, Charlie Parker on Verve. Verve has done a great one. This is a great, like a little tin case, and it opens up. Some of these are, some of the elaborate stuff they made during this period are pretty wild. But look at this, it's almost like Japanese origami, but it's pretty damn gorgeous. And as you've seen, those of you who have followed me and watched a bunch of my videos, I am shallow in my love for great package design, great artwork. This is the book that comes in the Charlie Parker set, and it's just stunning. I throw words around like stunning and wonderful and magnificent. But again, Charlie Parker died way too young. In fact, I'll show, these are the Verve sessions. Charlie Grant's Verve sessions, excuse me. But also show you another one that's great that I have in both vinyl and CD form. But this is the complete. This is the complete Savoy and Dial studio recordings, and this is great. This is the stuff done before the Verve. I don't know how many discs this is. This is probably like eight discs, I believe. And again, as usual, there's always a wonderful book. This is from 1944 to 1948. So just post-war. You can't take that away from me. You know, with orchestra in some cases. Anyway, Charlie Parker. Now, great guitar player Charlie Christian, played with some big band artists like Benny Goodman. This is a great set that Columbia put out, basically a recreation of a vintage amplifier. But Charlie Christian, the cool guy with the cool hat. Amazing guitar player. Very rhythmic jazz style. There's him playing with Benny Goodman. You know, I see some of you guys and gals on the video, you're talking and you say, turn the music down. I say, turn the music up loud. This stuff's gotta be played up loud. So, that's what Mazzy says. Okay, moving on. I'll just briefly show this. I showed this in a whole video. I'm not gonna open it up now, but this is a complete Verve, Bill Evans on Verve. This is totally overkill. It was meant to rust, and it's got everything in here. It makes a great doorstop, but it's incredible music. But search back into my box set series, and I show this a little more in detail. I think on volume 1, maybe. Turn it down, Mazzy. And the other one that I showed in that video that I had a hard time, it took me something like 3 days to figure out how to open it again. This is the Herbie Hancock Warner Brothers years, very conceptual. I'm not gonna even try to open it, I know now, but it's kind of like this amazing conceptual artwork. But again, box set junkie, but the music's pretty cool. During the day, back in the 70s, I wasn't a huge fan of Herbie's Warner Brothers stuff. There was a certain funk to it that I either wanted pure jazz or wanted rock and roll. I wasn't into fusion that. You know, I got a few Weather Report albums and I got some John McLaughlin, but then I kind of lost interest in that stuff. Only in the last 10 years again did I bump into it and get into it again. But this is also a good one. As I said in my earlier video, I showed some other Louis Armstrong. This is great, the complete Hot 5 and Hot 7s recordings. And this is a 4 CD set, which is in basically late 20s into the early 30s, I believe. But this is a lovely package as well. Look at this design. You know, the heyday of the box set design, companies like Rhino, Columbia, Capitol, some great designers that I got to know through working with representing photographers. I got to know MCA Universal, got to license some images and work with some of the great designers at the time. But it was a great way to get archiving vintage photography, music. And that's why every time I go on these forums and hear people bitching about the prices of box sets and reissues, you know, this is my lecture moment for Mazzy. A lot of people don't understand the cost in this. It's not just, you know, grabbing music, pressing it to CD, remastering it to vinyl, and printing up a book. There's researching, there's photography, licensing, there's publishing, there's copywriting, there's designing and mastering and printing and collating and research. So a lot goes into these things. So whenever someone says, why is that X amount? Why does that cost so much? I just kind of chuckle because I know the potential cost of some of these things. Even if you're talking about vintage photography, you know, there's licensing and research involved and editing, and there's a lot of costs down the line, you know, for this. But anyway, Louis Armstrong, the complete Hot 5 and Hot 7 recordings. So Mazzy gets all serious, and I don't want to lecture, but I just want people to understand that this stuff ain't free. You know, do you work for free? Huh? You want those higher minimum wages? You want higher things? Things are going to cost more. Just the fact. Okay. Ella Fitzgerald. What this is 12 Nights in Hollywood. This is a complete Hollywood live concert. You know, there's an album on Verve, Ella in Hollywood, which is a great, great live album. These are the complete shows. And a return to Hollywood. So, supervised again by Norman Granz, who was the Verve guy, the Verve man. Again, another wonderful multi-disc collection. And as I showed in my Verve box set that had all the songbook series, I'm a big fan of Ella Fitzgerald. So Ella Fitzgerald, the complete Hollywood shows on Verve. Hippo Select, that's one of them. That's one of the reissue labels like Rhino that was part of the Universal. Put a lot of great box sets. Obviously, as we're kind of getting out of the whole physical period of music, you know, this is the last hurrah. Everything's going digital, going streaming, going online. People aren't buying this stuff. You can find a lot of these now. People have traded them in. So, you know, if you're into this mode, seek them out at used shops. People skip over the CD sections now because they're so into the hip vinyl thing, which is amazing, is wonderful. But there's a lot of this great music, you know. You put this kind of stuff on and just play for hours. Because Mazzy, I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood for love. Okay, Clifford Brown, great trumpet player. He was on Pacific Jazz. He did Pacific Jazz issues. This is a 4 CD set on Pacific Jazz. Kind of makes me want to sing, but you don't want to hear me sing because I think you have in a couple of contests where it didn't go over very well. Clifford Brown. Okay, a little more John Coltrane. I showed John Coltrane in Volume 1. This is the complete 1961 Village Vanguard recordings. You know, he put an album out from live at the Village Vanguard, several albums on Impulse, and this is the complete 61 shows. 1961 shows, not 61 quantity-wise of shows. Ooh, don't you like that little light glare? That's kind of artsy. Look at that. It's like a Tarantino film. Ooh. And then, obviously, you know, Coltrane. I'm in the mood for Coltrane. Okay. Mixing it up again, Ella and Louis Armstrong. This is the complete Ella and Louis. Again, crazy origami, baby.
Alright, I love jazz CD box sets.
Okay, that's enough of that. But anyway, Ella and Louis. Again, a very favorite of mine, blues jazz singer Nina Simone. This is the Phillips recording. Nina Simone, the Phillips recordings. You know, I have here, well, any Nina Simone. There's an RCA set I have that's really wonderful. That's not quite a box, but talk about a dynamic vocalist. I showed in a video recently, I thought I did. Yeah, seek out one of my earlier videos, just from a few days ago, I think, where I showed that first Nina Simone album that you all should get. But again, if you're into compact discs, this stuff on Philips is really wonderful. Again, the artwork. Sit and read about these artists. I guess it's read about physical content, you know, that we're not going to get streaming, right? Otherwise, you're going to just sit and look at your fucking phone all the time and look at your posts and how many likes you get. Sorry, that went on the floor. The Columbia years, 62 to 68, Thelonious Monk. I have to pick up the Columbia years that went all over the floor. One moment, please. Sorry about that. Why am I apologizing to you? See, sometimes these little kind of packaging things people freak out about because, there we go. Oh, anyway, Thelonious Monk, Columbia years, that's when he did those solo albums and 4 years on Columbia. Some solo piano stuff. Who is that? That's with, is that Sonny Rollins? No. Charlie Rouse? There's that great hat. So, should Mazzy get one of those kind of Russian-style hats? I mean, it goes with the name Maslov. It's very Russian, huh? What a cool dude. What a genius. A lot of people didn't get him to begin with, man. It took a while for the critics to really get Monk. But Columbia years, 62 to 68 on, obviously, Columbia Records. 2 more to go. Okay, Norman Granz, Verve Records Norman Granz, put on a bunch of shows, jazz at the Philharmonic in the 40s. And there were some artists that he decided that didn't really fit in the whole jamming sessions of the Philharmonic in New York. And so he put this series out, which actually his album out, which was, I believe, it was a 5,000 album edition of 12-inch, of 12 78 RPM records. And that was done 5,000 limited edition, Verve, Norman Granz in the 40s. And this is what that is. This is a combination. It's called the Jazz Scene. And it's different artists in the studio. It's Duke Ellington with Billy Strayhorn, Neil Hefti. Neil Hefti, you probably know, wrote the Batman theme years later in the 60s. Lester Young featuring Nat Cole and Buddy Rich. Coleman Hawkins, again, one of my faves. Ralph Burns, George Handy, Charlie Parker, Willie Smith, Bud Powell, great piano player. I showed you his box on volume 1. Duke Ellington, Machito. Machito did some great Cuban stuff with Dizzy Gillespie. And any Machito and Dizzy Gillespie stuff on Verve with orchestration, very kind of a Latin Afro-Cuban sound, is really wonderful. Billy Strayhorn, Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins. Anyway, great series of performances done in the studio called the Jazz Scene. Oh, that's a fucking great shot. Who is that? Is it Neil Hefti? Neil Hefti, look at that shot. What a great photograph. You know Mazzy loves photographs. And yes, I talk about myself in the third person. I'm gonna do that. It's just my style, I guess. I love that. Okay, lastly, I don't have the actual box here. It's stored away with the booklet. But one of my all-time, and I know I say this a lot, this is my favorite, that's my best, this is fabulous, this is wonderful. I just like music. I like old music. But I don't have a lot of the Mosaic box sets. Mosaic started in the 80s, and Michael Kuskuna, who did some work for Blue Note, big jazz aficionado, historic, put together Mosaic Records, where he licensed things mostly from Capitol Records. And they're great box sets, black and white coverage books, mostly CDs, but they did some vinyl sets. I don't have any of their vinyl sets, and I only have 3 of the CD boxes. I have a Django Reinhardt, a Tony Williams from the Blue Note period, and Nat Cole. Nat Cole, the complete Capitol trios. The complete Nat King Cole trio on Capitol Records. 18 CDs. every take, every version. I mean, there's nothing really to show here because these are all the same covers pretty much. But this is fabulous. It's not with the orchestration when Nat Cole went through that really lush period. If you ever see this, I mean, these go for a lot of money. I would love to get the vinyl box, but I think it's 27 LPs and it goes for $600, $700, $800 above. My buddy found one last year before. But I think in some cases the CD is probably better for my needs. I put this on more than any other jazz. You could call it jazz pop, but it's that smooth, soothing voice of Nat Cole, the trio. You know, he didn't sing for a long time, started out just playing the piano, but Nat Cole on Mosaic, and that's the second and final box set jazz CD extravaganza down in Mazzy's light basement in Seattle, Washington, home of Pearl Jam and the grunge scene and Coffee and the Space Needle and the Seahawks and Amazon and Microsoft and Boeing, whatever, you didn't need to know that, and Jimi Hendrix. So, Mazzy loves you, thanks for watching, and post comments and enjoy the music. Turn it up.